Hey, I'm Jacob from Greyd, and I'm going to show you how you can quickly and efficiently create your own website and customize everything on your own. So we are going to talk about how the site editor and how WordPress actually works and is built. We're going to change the entire design of the website. We're going to create a page really efficiently from scratch. Then we're going to talk about a little bit about what Greyd actually does differently than the core and what core values Greyd offers. And last but not least, we talk about dynamic data and how you can set up dynamic elements inside your website. So let's get right in. So as soon as you install Greyd, you at some point end up here and you got your installation complete. I just activated the theme and all the plugins. And I'm here. And now I can start designing and customizing my website. First step is I'm going to take a look at the homepage. How does my website actually look like? And yeah, this is the default installation of Greyd. And we're going to take a look at how the backend is built, how the infrastructure looks like. So this might not be news for everyone, I'm sure. But this is how the backend looks like. We got our posts here. We can edit and edit our posts or add new posts, create draft posts. We have the pages here, media as well, media for all the images, all the documents, pages are all the elements that actually have a URL on the front end as well. So I prepared some pages for the content of this video. We have elements like templates and forms. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. We have a custom post type people in here. And we also have great features like post types, pop-ups, dashboard settings, license whatsoever. And we're first going to take a look at how the design works and how actually the site editor. You can find that under Appearance Editor. That is where the core design of your entire website lies. So I opened this link, Appearance Editor, and this is where we're landing. We have this site editor. We have this left bar that tells us we have 5 different sections that we can edit here. The first is navigation. Navigation is quite similar to what earlier, like in the classic WordPress editor, the menus are. So this is the default navigation. I only have just one element here, and those are the 3 pages you've just seen. Yeah, those are in here. This is the default navigation menu. Then we have styles. Styles are really interesting. You can change the entire website design with just one click and just based on the presets that the designer, in this case the Greyd theme, offers me. We're going to take a look at that quickly. Pages, just kind of a duplicate of the pages we've just seen, but we have special system pages in here as well, like block home. My home page doesn't actually appear under pages, but it appears in the site editor, and from this point it's actually editable. And this leads me to the next part, templates. Templates are specific system pages that WordPress always has. For example, the 404 page or the single post page, which controls how the post looks in the front end, or archive search pages, or, for example, the block home page, which we are seeing right here. And last but not least, we have patterns. Patterns are, yes, just really easy presets that you can just easily put in your website. We're going to use them to actually fill our page with content. You can create your own patterns that are synced or non-synced. Synced patterns, for example, are little reusable blocks. That's what they actually used to be called. Reusable blocks that you can reuse across your websites, but the content is entirely locked. And patterns as well are header and footer, for example. Header and footer are pretty much always used on every single page. And they are kind of reusable parts, but a different subcategory template part, which are actually more an element that only a few roles can actually edit. So first, we're going to take a look at the styles, and we're going to change the design of my website. And actually, I like this blue style very much. And each time I can now click on the edit button, and a little panel on the right opens up. So now I can further customize my style. For example, I can go and select different fonts. I don't want to do that right now. I can go ahead and customize my color palette. I can make that blue a little bit more cyan, a little bit more bold. I want to do that actually right now. I think this looks quite nice. I'll leave all the other colors how they are. I can do much more in here, but what I want to do right now is I actually want to make my buttons round. And I can do this in the global styles, but it's much better to do this in the Greyd styles because the Greyd styles are an enhancement of the global styles. They further enhance them. And for example, to control each button element on your entire website, not only the core buttons, but also search buttons, form buttons, whatever buttons are there, you could actually use the Greyd styles. And they offer hover styles, for example, which the core does not. And some other advantages. And in this example, I'm going to go into the Greyd styles. You can find them here. I go to buttons, and of all my preset styles, I want to set the radius of my border to 100 pixels to actually make it really round. And you can see all my button types now, primary, secondary, and alternate, are round now. And this looks nice. I like it. And so far so good. This is one of the first examples how Greyd actually, improves the core experience, but doesn't feel it's not too far detached from it. It always is kind of close to what the core does. Actually, what is saved here are only custom styles. If I click on save, only custom styles are saved, and this is entirely natively hooked into the WordPress core custom styles. So nothing too fancy here. I want to save that, and now I want to edit my logo. And I actually prepared a logo for this. I just drop it in here. Yeah, you can see some of the data we are using in just a minute. And I want to insert my logo. I want to open the settings here. And you have some options. For example, use a site icon, which is kind of an important option. You want to customize this little icon in your browser and in your browser tab. And yeah, if you activate this option, this gets updated as well. I want to make it a bit smaller. But apart from that, it's fine. This works for me. I'm saving this now. So the site is updated. Let's just take a look. I can click on this little icon here and view the site in the front end, just to make sure that everything looks nice. Yeah, perfect. And what I've actually done here already is I set up my header to be responsive. For example, if I now resize this window, you can see the title is actually disappearing. I have this little burger menu that I've created using Greyd. And for example, I have not set up this menu entirely correctly. And I want to do that now. So I want to make sure that on each breakpoint, this menu is just visible and does not have this additional burger. And I want to make sure that this title, I want to show you how I hide this title in here. So if I go into the title, I just focus it on via advanced, I can hide it on different breakpoints. I can hide it on my mobile breakpoint, for example, which is exactly what I've done here. And if I go into my popover, I want to make sure that my menu is actually not an overlay menu. It's just a static menu each time. And I want to make mobile overlay off. And I could additionally, for example, get rid of the title on tablet breakpoint as well, if I like, for example, just to make sure, that it's always visible, and I never have like kind of a weird state where I can not really where my content and my elements break. So now I open the overlay menu. Yeah, this looks fine. This works perfectly fine. So this is just another example how Greyd actually customizes and enhances the core blocks, gives some custom blocks. For example, this burger overlay menu block is a custom block, of course, but the site title, for example, is just enhanced and given more options in this case. So now I want to build this homepage actually, and I want to get rid of my contents that are already in there. I want to get rid of this section. I want to get rid of this entire style guide section. I can always insert it later on. It is natively inside the patterns. I want to move this group out because I want to use this group for my content later on. And now I want to upload an image behind this group actually. And how do I do this? I could, for example, convert this group into a cover block. Cover block is always really good if you want to have some background colors, background images, and that's exactly what I want to do. I open the media library, upload an image. This could take a couple of seconds because it's a pretty large image. I have actually not optimized that. We wait a second until this is uploaded, And this is a nice looking gradient. I've uploaded it. I want to get rid of this dark overlay, this kind of lays in front of it. And I can go in here and, for example, make it more bluish. Actually, I like it a lot. I can get rid of a little bit more, make the opacity a little bit less. Now I need to make sure that both my buttons actually do work. Maybe I'm not so sure about this blue color. Maybe make it a bit darker. I think it works better. Now I have to make sure this button is actually not, make it an alternate button that's actually better visible. And I want to go in there and make this not an alternate button then. I want to make it a fill button, but actually make it small. So this looks nice, but I want to have the image behind the header as well. And that's actually pretty easy. I'm just moving the header in there. That's it. That's how it works. Now I want to make sure that the layout is actually, looks good, looks fine to me. So we built an entire hero section. I can now go ahead and type in my actual headlines. I'm not going to do this for the sake of this video. And we're now going to focus on the content section of the site. So I could always build everything from scratch, obviously, but I want to use and utilize this. Actually, I want to utilize all the patterns that really smart and good designers out there build for me. So what I can do, I can explore all those patterns, and I can use core patterns inside WordPress, inside my Greyd.Suite installation. They're all natively compatible. I can use them, or I can use Greyd patterns. Whatever I like, everything is compatible. I can use third-party libraries to include patterns. So what I want to do, I want to have like one of these discount elements later on my page. And now let me explore some more patterns. I'm sure I want to have some pricing tiles. Let me get this pattern and some more. What do I want to have? Actually, I want to have some text with some white space. Let me select this pattern. That looks nice. And let me reorder that entire content section as well. So you've seen everything, pretty much every setting element, every setting is in this right column. And in this left sidebar, there is where I can see the structure of my website, for example, with this list view. So I have this group and I want to use this group for my entire content. So I'm just going to move the entire content in there and I'm going to make sure they all use the content width. If you want to find out more about how this layout property works and how the different settings do work, take a look at the tutorial video about responsive web design. I cover everything in there. So yes, I have this first section and actually I like it, but it needs some more space. So let's give it some dimensions. Let's give it some margin, top and bottom. Give it some more space. Then I have these two columns and same over there. I need more space around them. Actually, make them extra large. Yes, this looks good now. To be honest, I want to have this space to be a little bit smaller. So what I can do is I can custom set the top spacing to small or medium and the bottom to extra large. So this looks good now. And next up, I want to have some kind of black background pattern as well. So let's just go in here, explore patterns again, go to banners, and I want to include something else. Maybe I want to include this one in here. This looks actually really nice, but I want to get rid of this color. I want to make it my blue color. Then I need to change this button type, make it my alternate button, get rid of the colors that the pattern creator put in there. This looks fine. Looks fine for me. Let's get rid of this duotone pattern. Doesn't look too good in my use case, so let's just make it dark. This looks really nice. And after that, I need my pricing plans. I want to make sure my users know about my pricing plans, but there's not enough space between those two elements. So again, I want to customize the spacing. I could use the spacer block as well, but I want to use the margin bottom, make it vertical. Yes, extra large top and bottom, vertical margin. This looks really good now. And yes, this last section, actually I don't want this headline to be yellow. I just want it to be white, to be honest. Let's just make it white. And this button as well, it's okay if it's a fill button, but I want to reset my custom color settings in here. Maybe I want to customize the overlay color as well a bit. Make it this darker blue, lower the opacity a bit. Yeah, this looks nice. I really like this section. So yeah, let's just save this page and take a look at the front end. As soon as it's saved, it is saved. Reload it, yeah. And my website actually looks really nice. I have customized pretty much all the sections, included new sections. I really like it. Now I can fill in my contents or send them over to my content team and they fill in the contents. Yeah, and it really just took a couple of minutes. But last but not least, we want to take a look at dynamic data. So I've built some static sections, but I want to reuse some things and I actually want to display some dynamic data of my backend. And how I'm going to do this, I'm going to show you this right now. So first of all, I created a post type with some custom fields in there, some custom data that I've named people. And people could be my employees, customers, whoever, testimonials, whatever I like. And I have Emma, Robert, and Sarah. And I actually prepared a page as well where I want to display them. So we're going to take a look at this little page that I prepared. But before we're going to do that, let's just load it first. But before we actually going to do that, we're going to take a look at dynamic templates. And dynamic templates are, similar to patterns, but they're independent of their content and can be spread across hundreds of websites. So we want to create a new template. And a template is kind of like the wireframe structure that you can reuse across your site. We get these patterns. I want to select this and let's just name it dynamic box. And as you can see, I don't have content in here and I want to leave it like that. So every element in here is made dynamic already. It has a headline, image, and a paragraph pretty much. And I want to leave it like that, publish this template. And let's just reload this page real quick. So we publish this template and we reload this page. So in this page, I prepared a query loop, which is empty at the moment. It only has a template block in here. And in this template block, I want to select my dynamic box that I've just created. And as soon as it's loaded, I can now fill it in with contents. Of course, I can upload or select an image in here statically, or I can dynamically select an image. And before we fill that, let's just make sure that my query loop actually displays my persons, my people, and not my posts, which it by default it does. Yes, and now I can go ahead and select the post image, for example, in here. It's not actually filled in here. And with my heading, I can write something in here. Yes, obviously. And you see, every headline says the same word. But I can also set up dynamic data. For example, if I type in hashtag, I have this picker where I can, for example, select the post type or the post title or whatever dynamic data is in there. And for example, you can see the quote is already a dynamic data that I've created for this post type specifically. So every person, for example, has their favorite quote. And I can now just type in hashtag quote and fill in this quote. And now this data is pulled from the backend and actually displayed in the page. So how does that look like? So this is what this looks like. We have Emma, Robert, and Sarah, and they all have their favorite quote in here. But this is pretty easy as well with just core blocks. But what I can do now is, for example, I can reuse this template. Let's just insert this template again, insert the template block, dynamic box, and let's just statically fill it with content. So let's just fill it with this background gradient that we've uploaded. Let's just make it, okay, this is a static box, and actually give it some text as well. Or maybe just don't give it some text, just leave it blank. And let's update that and take a look back at my page. So what this does, obviously it displays the same contents I've just typed in, and it doesn't display this paragraph. because it's left empty, so it's optional. And if I leave it empty by filling the contents, it's not actually displayed at all. It's not rendered. And same goes for images, buttons, whatsoever. You can create optional elements. And now I can go ahead and change my template. For example, I don't want it to be rounded. I want it to have a shadow. And actually I want the image to be bigger. Let's just make sure it's set to cover. And actually I want to make my headline much bigger, and I want to make it text color blue. And then let's go ahead and make the text smaller, make it tiny. And the background as well, we customize that. We just make it a little bit grayish and set up the border radius to be rounded. So I update this template, and without changing any contents and I don't want contents to be changed, all the references of these elements are changed now. So obviously the headline is blue now, and the paragraphs are a little bit smaller. We have the buttons, we have the borders who are a little bit more rounded. The images are bigger. So everything is changed inside my template without actually affecting the content. And now I can spread this template, reuse it in my next project. But you're gonna find out more about that in the next video. So I hope you learned something. I hope you find it fun and entertaining. And yes, see you in the next one.
For more videos and information, please visit our Help Center.